run to the battle. Put our armor on, draw our swords. Let's run to the battle. Shout loud and glorify the Lord. Let's run to the battle. Put our armor on, draw our swords. Let's run to the battle. Shout loud and glorify the Lord. Come on, run. Let's run. Let's run.
I know of a woman that is raising kids on her own. She receives 0 child support. Her ex has 0 contact with her kids. She doesn't have parents or family close by to help her out. When I met her, her house was falling apart. Her car was having issues. She was working 3 jobs, but was still barely making ends meet. Her kids were in sports and extracurricular activities, so she was having to taxi them to and from school and to games 3 to 4 nights a week and on weekends. She was completely on her own. She was exhausted and she was drowning. Now, I'm married with kids. There are 2 of us, 2 incomes, sharing responsibilities. My wife and I often feel like we're drowning. We're so busy with work and kids and school and church and exercise and everything else that comes with adulting. I just can't imagine doing it on my own. Can you? Now imagine what the kids are experiencing. Imagine what the girls are missing out on by not having a loving father in their lives. Imagine how the boys are struggling by not having a man to teach them how to be a man and what that looks like. Imagine how hard it is to figure out what a loving marriage might look like when you haven't had one demonstrated to you. Imagine how hard it is to know God as a loving father when you never had a loving, present, earthly father who provides and protects and leads. This is why it makes total sense when we learn that the Bible mentions orphans and widows and fatherlessness so often. In fact, the word orphan used in Scripture is virtually interchangeable with the word fatherless. The Bible mentions those words 44 times in total. The majority of those are in the context of God's fatherly love for them and his command to his people to be just and helpful towards them. There are over 80 mentions of the word widow in the Bible. And again, many of those references are referencing God's love for the widow and how he wants his people to care for them. Single moms are almost unheard of in the Bible. Why? Because it was barbaric for God's people to not care for them and help arrange them to remarry and to take care of them. It was unimaginable. In Luke 7:11-17, Jesus intercepts a funeral procession where a grieving widow was heading out of the city gate in order to bury her only remaining son. This detail is key. The fact that the widow had lost her one and only son meant that she was emotionally and economically destitute. In fact, verse 13 says that Jesus had compassion on her, so he brought her son back to life. Essentially, Jesus was restoring her means of provision and protection by restoring her son's life. The Lord is compassionate enough to do such a thing. Wouldn't it make sense that he's asking his church to have the same compassion, to fill in the gap for the orphan and the widow? This is why when we read James 1:27, that pure religion cares for the orphan and widow in their distress and remains undefiled by the world. We can take the spirit of that mandate and apply it to the single moms of today and the fatherless kids of today. We can say with confidence that the 21st century version of the widow is the single mom. We can also say that fatherless children are indeed orphans, and the church should care for them as such. It is the church's mandate to do so. It is the church's job to let compassion drive them towards service. Otherwise, We can't call ourselves a church that practices pure religion or say that we have been undefiled by the world. This compassion can't be mustered up by self-will. It must come from the Father's heart and be transferred to us during our intimate time with Him. My challenge to you is to seek the Lord in such a way that His compassion for orphans and widows becomes your compassion for orphans and widows. He's left it up to us.
Run, run to the battle. Put your armor on, draw your sword. Let's run, run to the battle.